is intended for mature, open-minded audiences only. If you are easily offended, we suggest you turn this wacky shit straight off.
Should have been gone.
Oh, wow, deep cut. Oh, Sherry?
Oh, yep. You know it, girl.
Oh, shit.
Oh, God damn. Wow.
God damn. And it should have been gone. What's the next word?
Baby.
Exactly. Chorus. Oh, Sherry. Wow, that takes me back.
Oh, Ronnie.
Our love holds on.
Yeah, baby.
Holds on. Love me some Steve Perry. Hello? Oh, shit.
Hello.
I think I just hung up on Christopher.
Oh,
Let's see if I can get him back here. Actually, let's just switch calls. It's weird that it no longer seems to give you the option of adding somebody to the call when
I
they're
lost you.
calling in. Yeah. Got you back, though. Jon-Mark, you still there?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. For whatever reason, as I was telling Jon-Mark, it doesn't give you the option to add to call when someone calls in anymore.
That's weird.
Well, before we get started, I just want to take this time to thank all the listeners that heard that I went through a breakup and sent in all those tit pictures. Really gave me a nice boost.
Isn't that? Yeah, I bet it gave you a nice boost. Mm-hmm. Isn't it great how supportive they are?
Yeah.
In a time when you need
dudes.
a lot of support.
Mostly dudes. But
well, sure.
Sure.
Somebody was messaging, what was the name? We've got a lot of feedback recently, so I'm sorry I'm spacing everybody's name. But I was talking with somebody, and at some point he's like, by the way, who am I talking to? Just out of curiosity, because, there's a few of us that handle the Facebook page. And I said, this is Ron. If you were talking to Christopher, you would have a dick pic by now. And I feel like that's fairly accurate. Yeah, I mean, sure. 2 or 3 exchanges is about the cutoff.
Yep, that's where I find out if you can roll with this.
If you can really roll with this, yeah. And we know that some of the people that we date can't roll with it. So we need to find out where our peeps really are. Lyle, you there?
I'm here.
God damn.
Today is going to be about feedback. And we don't get to do this terribly often because we aren't exactly the Joe Rogan show or even last podcast on the left or whatever. Next level podcasts that, probably get like daily feedback or even weekly. But we don't get a ton of feedback, but when we do get it, there's usually some gems, and I let them pile up. And it's been a while. I don't think we've done this since we started How Bizarre. We haven't done this since Tales from the Space Pod. And I apologize, my voice is a little bit dry and rasp, trying to lubricate with alcohol, which I think is the most hydrating substance on planet Earth, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. I might be up on my science on that. But I don't know, allergies or heartburn, something is making my voice a little dry. But we'll get through it. Do you guys have anything you want to chat about before we move right into feedback?
Yes.
Yeah. Jon-Mark, do it.
Do it.
We're talking about testicles. We're talking about soy sauce, aren't we? Same page?
Yeah, that was a strange series of texts. So
quite the opposite. I would just like to say that I have recently been attempting to learn Norwegian, and
because of black metal, right?
No, there's many reasons, but that sure doesn't hurt.
Norwegian, okay.
My 5-year plan is to be ready to be able to move there if situations deem it the good thing to do. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Just a political lens.
Yeah.
Norway, baby.
Take me with you, baby.
So if we do have any listeners in Norway that would be willing to at some point maybe set up like a tutoring thing over Skype or something like that.
He won't even make you do it topless like I would.
Send us
Bitch, we tutor over Skype once a week.
We titter over Skype.
Tutor. Remember when we used to say that for fart? Who tutored? Was that regional?
No, I don't. But I'm going to start.
Never used that. So Jon-Mark asked me not that long ago, or the group, if we had any listeners in Norway. I got on the old stats, because apparently with the new setup you got to pay to get that detailed of stats, and I don't really fucking care. But the old one we got for free. And yeah, there were hundreds of monthly downloads from Norway. So we do have a fairly sizable listenership there. Now, I don't know if that's 5 people listening to every single episode or, 20 checking us out here and there. It's a chunk of people. There are people in every continent and a shit ton of countries listening to this ridiculousness. So, yeah, if you want to tutor on Jon-Mark over Skype. Now, is this a free gig, Jon-Mark?
I don't know. We can work something out.
Oh, I just bet you can. It is Skype after all. How are you with dirty socks, Jon-Mark? Maybe save one.
Well, I only do laundry once every couple of weeks, so pretty good.
Somebody's foot fetish is best dream come true. Right there. Well, interesting. Good luck with that. I feel like Norwegian probably is a weird language to learn. Like it's one of those languages that sounds pretty crazy when you hear it. Although it also sounds kind of cartoonish.
They say that it's one of the easier languages for English speakers to pick up because there's a lot of similar words.
A lot of args and blargs.
Yeah, there's a lot of similar words, so it's really not too bad. I've just been using this app.
What have you learned so far? Give us a little bit.
Yeah, give us.
Jeez, you're gonna
close my eyes. Take me there. Take me there, baby.
The thing is about it is that it's easier for me to look at the stuff like on the screen and read it and like be able to puzzle it out than it is for me to like at this point call it up. And
you want to sing one of your favorite lines from one of your bands? Come on.
I can tell you that Ederkoppen går runt I huset.
Ooh, yeah, I'm there.
Yeah, I had one of those once.
Just for whatever reason, I remember
Doctor said to go right away.
I remember that line because it just means literally the spider goes around in the house, and I just thought that was hilarious.
Sex thing.
I have had, I definitely had a spider go around the house. Right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, what I do is I go around the spider. We don't need a house. I just go all around the spider.
You don't want to smash them. You don't want to smash them.
I smashed a couple spiders in my time.
I haven't seen a spider in a while, thank the maker.
You got a spider phobia, Jon-Mark?
Did kill a mouse last night, though.
Damn, Gina.
Yeah, we had a few mice around here for a while. They seem to have cleared out. God knows there's enough fucking cats. We shouldn't have mice ever.
There's one I noticed, like this weekend. I saw it. I was playing video games, and out of the corner of my eye, I saw something. I was like, "What the fuck was that? Was that a motion, or am I hallucinating, or what's going on?" And I looked again, and there was definitely a mouse, and I was like, "Fuck." And then I saw him again last night.
They're like shadow people. Sometimes you're not sure if you saw something. And you're like, "What was that?"
And then the same thing happened to me last night. I was like, did I just imagine that? And I looked again. Nope, there's definitely a mouse. And then we put a trap down. And like about 3 a.m, I think it snapped. And then Jen was like, what was that? And I was like, it was a mouse. Don't worry about it. She's like, it's going to crawl around. I was like, no, it's fucking dead. I'll get it in the morning.
Yeah. Fucking fine.
I was in a
death rattles. Leave it alone.
It's just a death rattle.
Could be a death
way
rattle.
out already.
Yeah. Sometimes they don't quite snap all the way. Those are the unfortunate ones. But go ahead, Chris.
I had a fun weekend. I had a sitter for 36 hours, and me and Bats went to Seattle and went and saw my favorite band play Thrice. And I've been on this diet for like 4.5 months, and so I haven't had sugar. So I said, I had kind of shitty couple of weeks. I'm gonna have like anything I want to fucking eat and anything I want to drink, and I'm gonna get a little fucked up and just have fun. And she's like, go for it. So what made me think of this story was I was pissing in an alley in Seattle when a fucking family of rats traversed across not only my pee stream but my feet. And I was so drunk that I didn't care.
That was this weekend?
Yeah, it was Saturday.
Jesus.
I was like, that. All
right. That's drunk.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be like, but I would.
No, I was just like, oh, okay.
I would evade them. I've read the stories. In fact, we all know the bubonic
I was
plague.
so drunk that I got back to the hotel room and said, I'm going to have some chicken nuggets in the shower now. Bye.
Oh, my God.
I fucking took my chicken nuggets.
You vacation well.
Straight to the shower.
Tell me the story ends with you getting Bridget pregnant again.
God, I hope not.
That would be quite a story, right?
Yeah, it would be. It would be one for the books.
So how, is chicken nug or is shower nugs going to be like a new thing? Like
shower nugs. I've had a shower nug.
4 stars. 4 stars would recommend.
Yeah.
I I appreciate people who eat in the bathroom, but I can't get into it. I don't care how drunk, how clean. I got one thing to do, well, 2 or 3 things to do in the bathroom, and none of them are eating. But I like the idea of it, the efficiency.
Like a shower drink. Like,
Sure.
what about a nice glass?
Oh,
of
yeah,
something?
beverages are a completely different thing. As long as it's not, I would probably have a hard time doing a Bloody Mary in the shower, because that's more like a meal. You know what I'm saying? I don't even like chewing gum when I walk into a bathroom. There's something about tasting things and smelling bathroom smells. And I'm not talking like piss and shit. I'm just talking like bathroom smells. We all know when we're in a bathroom.
Yeah. Your imagination goes wild when you walk into one. I can only imagine.
Yeah, there's something there that doesn't allow me.
What you're telling us is you're not going to be taking a shit and eating a Philly cheesesteak at the same time. Probs.
Yeah, we call that a flumpkin. No, definitely. I can't even. I literally cannot even imagine eating while taking a shit on a toilet. Maybe out in age.
We get 10 5-star Patreon subscribers. He'll do it on the air.
I'll try it. Shit, yeah. 10 5-star?
Over
Absolutely.
Skype, so there's no shenanigans.
Yeah, over Skype. Wow, that's going to be an uncomfortable 3.5 minutes.
Uncomfortable, but very efficient, right?
Very efficient, yeah. Well, there must have been a time. I don't know that I've ever taken a shit as a grown man in front of anybody.
Period.
I can't. I got a real tummy ache. I don't think I've ever shat in front of somebody.
Is there a doctor?
So I can't swear that there wouldn't be some sort of stage fright, but I feel like, you know how you get the pee stage fright, which I don't usually get, but I have. I have gotten it. Right next to somebody, and it's a big bathroom, and it's super quiet. That's kind of the only time that and I usually don't head to the bathroom unless I really got to go, especially if it's a public bathroom. But I don't feel like I would have any kind of stage fright with having a shit. You either got to shit or you don't, right?
Do you like sing yourself a song while you're sitting at the urinal? It's like,
Jesus loves me, this I know.
Every now and then I fall apart.
Oh, actually, this is a pretty good segue.
Brown eye.
This is
White
a pretty
front to back.
this is a pretty good segue into something that I thought of that I thought of maybe bringing up a couple weeks ago when something happened to me in using the restroom at work, and I was just wondering if maybe you guys had any bathroom fails at work.
This is already a great episode
that you think would be that you would want to share.
Okay.
So I'll start with mine if you guys want to do it.
Oh, please.
Haven't I shared enough? But go ahead.
So I have a pretty, I don't know, a pretty decent walk after I get off the bus to work every morning. It's, several city blocks. And for a long time, my habit was to get a coffee before I, hit that walk after I get off the bus.
Mm-hmm.
And so one day, a couple weeks ago, I was drinking my coffee, walking down to my building. I was listening to Joe Rogan, and I can't remember how they started talking about it, but they started talking about taking a shit. And they just kept hammering on it and going into detail about taking a shit. And drinking the coffee kind of got me going a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, I think I need to use the restroom.
That's what it does.
Quickly. And I shut off the podcast, hoping that would help, but it didn't. The damage is already done, and I was like, I need to find a restroom now.
Yeah.
So I get into the building, and I was able to get up to the floor that I work on. And
Is this a photo finish sitch? What's going on here?
oh well, yeah.
I'm sending the video now.
Is it a spray and pray?
So there's there's one restroom, those restrooms that are anybody can use it. It's like a bigger restroom, it's just got the one thing.
Restroom?
Yeah. So there's one of those, and I'm like, okay, I'll just hit that one up, and I run in there.
Oh, thank God.
Lock the door, and I sit down. Oh,
And there's a family in there.
And I look, and there's no toilet paper.
Like zero? I mean, what about
Zero.
those things that you put between your butt and the seat? I always think about that.
No. There was zero toilet
That's a good
paper. What there
backup,
was a half-empty box of Kleenex sitting on the sink that was
Oh, that's
you had to get up to go get it.
that's a home run. Yeah.
You had to stand up a little bit.
Yeah, but you're in your own room.
I just couldn't believe in a corporate office building that they have, janitorial staff in there 24/7, that somehow this one room had been missed and there's absolutely zero toilet paper in there. It was
Yeah,
crazy.
there should definitely be a designated guy or gal in charge of just that in a place that size, right? Or
There is, and I see them like going through the building multiple times a day. So it's just like, and I've never seen in like 4 years of working on this at this place on this campus. Mm-hmm. I've never seen a restroom that had 0 toilet paper in it. This was the first time.
Yeah. Well, you're lucky that you had the Kleenex plan B. Go ahead, Lyle.
Exactly. I was like,
Well, there was DB Cooper, so maybe this was like TP Pooper, and he just ran around stealing toilet paper. And it was stopped.
Mystery of TP Pooper. Well, if DB Cooper did survive, odds are he hit his head or, at this point, just dementia. Could have him running around as the TP Pooper bandit. Mm-hmm. That's not a very exciting, I won't say superhero, pooper hero. But I want to go back. We all got excited when you had the option of going to those single toilet rooms. The double-edged sword to that is upon exit, right? Like whether you made the stank or someone right before you made the stank and you exit, and it's always a pretty woman just waiting on the other side of it. You know what I'm saying?
Who left the smear?
And then they're walking into the stank.
Just
and you're
oh my God, look her in the face like, I'm so sorry.
I've done that. Well, I've never apologized, but I have straight up said it wasn't me, and it wasn't.
Okay, Shaggy, chill out, Jesus.
It was this tiny little bathroom in an art gallery in Othello, Washington. Brittany, you all know Brittany. She used to come to Radar Station quite a bit. She was holding an event there, and I went in there, and it was super tiny. I mean, it's an old hotel that's been converted into an art gallery. Pretty cool place, but very, very tiny, cramped water closet of a bathroom. And I walked into it, and I almost threw up, but I had to pee so bad I just had to brave it. I was like, oh, my God, whoever did this is unwell. And I'm as untrained of a doctor as you can possibly be, but that guy... What I was smelling points to a serious medical ailment. And so I just toughed it out and peed because we were all drinking beer most of the morning. A bunch of artists hanging out. And I flush, wash, open it up, and there's smoking hot girl standing right there. And I'm just like, I promise it wasn't me. I couldn't not say it. I couldn't. My pride wouldn't allow. But
did she say,
She just smiled. And probably didn't want to be addressed at all because she was heading in the bathroom. I'm exiting the bathroom. She probably just didn't want any kind of conversation at all. And I probably made it worse by bringing it up. Just walk out. I don't know. But anyway, double-edged sword that. You like the privacy, but you got to own whatever you leave behind, son. I got to be honest. I have done the thing where I do the deed, flush, and then hang out in the bathroom for like 15 minutes until the odor dissipates. But that was back when I used to eat like shit food. Now it's like, it doesn't smell like a biscuit, but it ain't bad like it once was. Not when Ronnie, who was living off of deep fried Reeser burritos from Plaza Superjet. But as far as like going around the table, I feel like I've told all the shit related stories I have or am willing to share.
Well, but nothing else has happened recently?
One of them happened with you.
That was a pretty good one, though.
Not that long ago, Jon-Mark, at the Elysian Fest. Yeah. Remember?
Right. Yeah.
I was... I remember we were trying to find a parking spot, and I think it was at some point in the car, I'm like, guys, I got a decision to make here. Either I'm going to hunker down on the other side of the car, you guys stay in guard, or we run to the nearest bathroom. Thank God the bathrooms were like immediately inside the park that we went, and I was like, oh, sweet. Remember that was the weird, because it's in a downtown Seattle park, and I guess there's a lot of hooker activity and probably drug activity happening in there. I sat down, or hovered, only to realize that my face was sticking up above the stalls. That was the first time I'd ever seen these half stalls. So you couldn't see like ass or genitalia, but you're looking at the fucking dude's face shitting next to you.
What's up, bro?
Like, what the shit? What have we become as a society? This is what I'm thinking. Minutes before I sideways shit on the wall. That's how that story ended. And then I'm like, you know what? I get it. We're a terrible, terrible people because I did not clean that shit up. I just left. I had to get out of there. Besides, the Ravenettes were about to play. Well, good show. After that, I was all fine. I usually only have like one explosion and chucking on down the road. The rest of that afternoon was pleasant.
Let me ask you. Well, while you were operating the radar station, did you ever go into that bathroom and find shit halfway up the wall and say, well, I knew I had this coming?
Yeah, well, only once that I can remember, and it was a homeless person went in there and threw up and had diarrhea. So I had to go in there and clean that up. That was a real come-to-Jesus moment when I was staring at that mess. I've had a few of those. One of those was with my former tenant, God. And then not Holly. Yeah. Sometimes you just got to do the thing. You just got to, I remember when it was worse. Well, I don't know what was worse. My former tenant was pretty fucking bad, but the one down at Radar Station was all over the place. Like in my tenant's bathroom, she did everything in the toilet, but the toilet broke. So I had to fix the toilet with all that in it. That was bad. But the one at Radar Station, it was all on the floor. Parts of it were on the toilet, like on the side. Anyone listening while having lunch? I was wondering that. This has to be up there in the podcasts that bring up fecal matter, right? Like, it's got to be up there in the top 10.
I don't know.
Certainly the top 50. You got to give us top 50.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I got, so maybe, I think I was like 25, late 20s. I was at the Puyallup Fair with my friends and family. And it's the Washington State Fair now. It's a very big deal here. It's huge. So, you fucking drive to a lot, you park, you walk 45 minutes to the fair, you spend 45 minutes getting into the fair, and you have yourself a funnel cake or something, your tummy gets a little rumbly, and we've all been there, right,
yeah,
guys?
Fair food can be rough on the Constitution.
So, I have to go take a poop. So I find the public restroom, and I'm in there doing my business. It's not going too bad. Things are going pretty well. And I hear this little kid get into the stall next to me. And he's like whistling a tune, yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, okay, cool. And I'm just, fucking playing on my phone or whatever. And I don't know. I don't hear any splashing or anything. And I hear the kid say, uh-oh, daddy. And at that exact moment, I feel my pants, where they're around my ankles, all of a sudden my ankles feel cold and wet.
No.
Not cold enough, might I add. And I look down and I can see this river of fucking piss, because the kid's not hitting the toilet, just traveling. It's soaking my pants and underwear entirely. And I'm at this fucking
Daddy.
fair.
I need you to fight whoever I'm peeing on. He's surely going to be unhappy.
So I had to spend the rest of the day at the fair with fucking some kids piss all over my shit.
That's bad. Well, one, you're moist and uncomf. But two, you know what is causing that moisture. That's an unpleasant day.
I don't even think I stuck around. I was like, guys, I got to get the fuck out of here. And just walking that 45 minutes back to that car, I was like, fucking hate everything.
Hate my life, hate my life, hate my life, hate my life. Yeah. Isn't it funny how a perfect day at the fair can turn around so quickly?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You're in for a treat. Lyle, you got a special story involving bathroom tomfoolery?
It seems to me like anything that was already kind of discussed was already said, but like it happened to one like guy at work. I remember one time it was pretty funny. It was we're working at Crescent Bar. It was wintertime, and my helper was kind of drinking a lot at the time, and he was just I think he was hungover, kind of had the like hangover, kind of not feeling well.
Mm-hmm.
And he takes off, and then he comes back, and he's just pissed. And I'm like, "What's up, dude?" And he goes, "What's up? What's up, dude?" And he pulled up his fucking pant leg. He was missing a fucking sock. So he had to go to the bathroom, and there's no toilet paper, so he had to use his sock. And it's wintertime, middle of wintertime.
Oh, gotcha. Uh-huh.
And
that's not a bad plan B.
It's not a bad plan B, but I just kind of hinted at him that there was a roll of paper towels in my truck.
Yeah, that's a lesson there, kids. Don't be afraid to ask for help. usually there's help available, or a better option than what we struggle through on our own. Well, built-in metaphor right there. And that's one to grow on, kids. That's a good sort of teaser for where we're heading. Some of the questions that we received tonight will be a lot like this. We're going around the table answering something we may not be proud to discuss. But before that, anyone else got any news or just tomfoolery you want to throw out? It's a bit of a casual episode, and then we'll end with some beloved weird trivia, which we haven't had in a while. Shall we get on to listener feedback?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. I think I'm going to let's do the email first, Chris, and then I'll have you bring us the Facebook questions. So if you want to get those ready to rock, we'll end with those, and then we'll head into some weird trivia. So first up, via the email stack, this is going back a few weeks, a few months. This first one is from Keith in Alaska. He says, "Hey guys, love the show. Been listening since the Space Pod days, and it's only gotten better with age, like a fine cum towel." Thanks. You're so sweet. He goes on to say, "I was wondering if you were keeping up on the Vic Maganogna case at all, since you guys had him on the show a while back. What are your thoughts?" Yeah, I was keeping up with it for a bit. And for those of you who don't know, Vic Maganogna is a voice actor, a lot of video games, a lot of anime, cartoons, pretty well known, pretty beloved, and a big fan base up until, a little over a year ago? And some accusations started coming forward about sexual harassment, maybe even a little bit of sexual assault, like handling people, like fondling people or groping or hugging inappropriately at conventions. And a lot of this was coming from a couple of companies that he was working for, or at least he was fired by a couple of these companies. And so there's been this controversy and back and forth, and it finally did go to court. And to me, it seems like a lot of the people involved with this story are shitty. And I have a few female pals that book celebrity guests for conventions, and they love that job. And they love getting to know the guests. They love hanging out after the parties and all of that. And they're all fine with the hugging and, things getting a little rambunctious or even like sexually like joking around. It's just kind of the mood at a lot of these places. These girls are fine with it, and they're worried about this being overly policed to the point of that going away, while still being cautious about, believing people that are coming forward with allegations like this went too far. One of these girls, by the way, I won't name any names, but she straight up gave a dude that she booked for one of these conventions, or she was his handler, so to speak. She straight up gave the dude a blowjob in the back of his limo. Nice. In between one event or the other. And she had a damn fine time doing it. So, shit does go down, all puns at this point. But in these kinds of events, it's so easy for things to get ramped up. And, some footage or audio footage, I guess. What would that be called? Hearage? Soundage. Maybe? I don't know. Waveage. I guess that makes more sense for following footage.
Sound waveage.
Waveage. Some waveage from these companies that fired Vic Maganogna over this controversy, where they're, not Vic, but other people, just voiceover actors, were just bantering, like just riffing off each other during the downtime. Filthy shit, like sexual innuendos, straight up inappropriate things for any work environment. But it's a different kind of job. It's a different kind of industry. So things do get tricky here. But
besides that, we all know people that are like really touchy-feely people,
yeah.
Chris some drinks and he'll be all touchy-feely all over it.
Yeah. Some people are huggy. Some people are straight up standoffish when it comes to hugging. Sure. Yeah, but I'm assuming that Vic is kind of more the happy-go-lucky guy that I met of him. He seemed like he was a very happy-go-lucky kind of guy. Well, that's what he says, and he said that when he meets his fans, he's just genuinely. And it's easy to believe.
Genuinely want to grab them titties.
Just want to grab them titties. There were a few. Well, there are a few pictures. We talked about this a while ago, but there are a few pictures that made circulation on Twitter where Vic was really face to face hugging what looked like pretty young women. One that I'm remembering, the girl's face was blurred out, and it was retweeted like, "We blurred this girl's face to protect her identity, but look at the way he's hugging this young girl." That girl came forward, and not only, I believe she was over 18, first of all, but secondly, she's like, "Take my fucking photo down, assholes." That's me in that photo, and I asked him for that hug, for that picture. I asked him to hug me that way. It was consensual, but there are girls coming forward saying that he acted inappropriately. So, again, it's tricky. And I don't fucking know. I don't know these people, so who knows? But I think there may be some stones being thrown here to some degree when it comes to the Vic Maganogna case. Even if he's a douche and even if he's a little grabby, I feel like a lot of the people that are throwing him to the wolves are douches as well. Because enough stuff has come up, like these recordings, shit that they tweeted back in the past that they've since deleted after all this, but people found it in the Wayback Machine, or it was already screenshot. Nothing is ever deletable. We won't learn that, but they tried, and the fact that they tried is incriminating to me. It's always interesting that when someone tries to go back and hide some stuff, even if they're not terrible people, it's not a good look. You know what I mean? It's not going to help your case. So who the fuck knows? He definitely cheated on his fiancée many times, and he had to admit that under oath. And she's long gone now, of course, and she doesn't have very many good things to say about the dude at all.
Was she the one that was listening in the background when we had the interview? The gasp when we asked him what direction he wiped his butthole.
Yeah. So Chris, why don't you ask? You play me in the role.
Oh, good.
Ask the question to Vic Maganogna, and I will pace it out perfectly as it went down. And the voice you will next hear after Chris will be his ex-fiancée, who was sitting right next to him.
Now, Vic, this may sound a little strange, but we ask everyone this that comes on our podcast. After you go poop, what direction do you wipe your butt?
What? Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. This has been Recap Theater. That's exactly how it went down. I feel like I reran the Vic Maganogna. What? Because she really, we didn't even know that she was right there. Yeah. But she apparently would do the interviews with him. A couple of times when you go back and listen, you can hear her like you could tell that she was looking things up that he was trying to remember details too. It was a very involved interview. We talked about Star Trek. We talked about a lot of his work with anime and movies and video games. So there's a lot to that interview, and his fucking resume is a mile long. So I think she was kind of his assistant to some degree. So she was right there. One of my favorite moments, and least favorite moments at the same time.
From the highest of highs to the lowest of lows.
He was on Coast to Coast not too long ago. Recently. Yeah.
No, I didn't know that.
Plug in the Star Trek thing with a bunch of old Star Trek members.
That's Star Trek. It's StarTrekContinues.com is where you can watch his version of Star Trek. It's fucking great. If you love the original series, it's great.
We should really try to get him back on because, right now he's like, fuck, no one will have me on. What about that podcast? Ask me which direction.
Aislinn joked about that. It's like, you should get him for WenCon. He's probably pretty cheap. But at the same time, I got a feeling he's being very careful at the behest of his lawyer, if nothing else, about where he goes, who he's talking to, and what he says. If he goes to talk to anybody, he's probably not going back to the which way do you wipe your bunghole Vic Maganogna people. I could be wrong. I don't want to put words into his mouth.
I love that. He goes, well, what do you think? That's like obvious, isn't it?
I think he said as God intended, or I said I don't remember what, but
but he
was like, I immediately knew the answer. It's just not the kind of question one would expect, and I'm like, no.
No, it's not.
The whole thing is sort of surreal and burned into my brain. I every time I listen to it, I laugh, but I feel my face getting super hot.
It was one of those things I was like, is he really going to ask him? Is he really going to ask him?
Yeah, I believe that was the last time I asked because the feedback was it was polarized, but Some people are like, "Oh my God, Ron, you're my fucking hero." Clip. The other half was like, "Dude, stop asking your celebrity guests about the fucking ass wiping thing. Like, stop." And I'm like, "All right, that's enough. That's enough. We played it out." But anywho, does anyone else have anything to say on the Vic Maganogna thing before we move on to the next question? All right. Well, Jillian writes, "Dearest creeps and perverts, love listening to the show as I'm sweating my fat ass into oblivion at the gym. Thanks for making that a less miserable experience." Yeah, I love hearing how and when people listen to the show. She says, "I wanted to share a story with you regarding turning people on to this show. I have only recommended it twice. I mean, come on, this show isn't for everyone, which is why we love it, of course. Once was to my sister, who loved it immediately, and she actually may be a bigger fan than me now. I only say that because she has heard every single show. I never have gone backwards to get caught up yet.
No, you're missing out.
The other person was a guy I wanted to fuck at this very gym. Yes, I'm sweating right now and texting this out. I needed an in. Cue Ron saying, "You know what I'm saying?" And Lyle saying, "All right," which is great because he just said it a little bit earlier. Hasn't said that in a while. So I brought up the show as you were talking about hackers, and I thought it would make me sound smart. It kind of worked, and we chatted a bit, and I told him to check you guys out. Well, the next day, or the next show you posted, was a history of atrocious entertainment. Oh, I don't know if you guys remember that show, but it was a doozy. The only one that I think might be more troubling than that one was the sex and murder episode that really disturbed. She goes on to say, "The next day, Mr. Perfect Ass was on the farthest side of the gym he could possibly be."
Fuck.
And the day after that, he, hand to God, walked in, looked at me, bent over to tie his shoe, and left. And I haven't seen him since.
Oh, so sorry.
Thanks for that, fuckers.
Yeah.
She ends with, "It's okay, though. I'll take you creeps over Mr. Perfect Pecs, sweet ass, salt and pepper hair, immaculately groomed." Sorry, what was I saying?
He didn't deserve you.
Yeah. He didn't. Wow. How about that? Yeah. It was a rough episode, but now I'm wondering if it may have just been my voice. Maybe it just repelled him. Maybe he had that ASMR
complex.
It's impossible. No. It's not a complex. It's not just a complex.
I just constantly worry about it.
It's something I genuinely never thought about. And now I have to, how do I not think about it? And not just with me. It could be any of us. Any of us could just, like a fingernails on a chalkboard to a listener. I find that really interesting and something I never thought about. But
I had a partial stroke, so it's okay.
Well, we all have our excuses, I suppose. But the only excuse we need is we're just as God made us. So suck it, you pussy ears. Anyway, Katrina says, "Okay, you guys, I have just made my way through the entire collection of old episodes." Wait, is this Jillian's sister? Which you can do, by the way, if you go to patreon.com/Tales from the Space Pod and become a $1 fucker or more a month. I mean, how much content? We have 350 episodes, plus bonus episodes, links to some of my interviews I've done on other media outlets, some other things that we're going to talk about here in a bit. And she goes on to say, "I have to say, aside from just being a truly intriguing and creepy and funny show, your lives have all been very eventful and entertaining to follow. The affairs, the tragedies, car accidents, divorces, cancer, career changes, and dashed dreams." Wow.
Winners.
Let me read that again. The affairs, the tragedies, car accidents, divorces, cancer, career changes, and dashed dreams. The How Bizarre Story, ladies and gentlemen. What a great title for a autobiography.
That'd be on the movie poster for sure.
She says, "I love that you all talk about your private lives a bit on each show. It really makes us feel connected to you. What a mindfuck it would be to sit down with you all in person, knowing all that I do. I could keep up with all your stories and even chime in with, Hey, remember that time Ron shit his pants? You see how this show is already kind of...
Can you be more specific?
Or how about that time Jon-Mark slurred the word okay? Ah, good times.
Never forget.
As soon as I got over being starstruck, that is. Anyway, that's all for now. Love you guys. Thank you so much, Katrina. A lovely email. And I'm really glad that she said that about the private stuff, because it's really not a good move in terms of like growing an audience because it kind of alienates or bores new listeners. But
it's taboo in a sense. It's kind of like doing politics or religion and stuff like that.
Somewhere along that line. It doesn't interest people unless they're interested. And how could they be interested if they don't know who we are? So it's probably tough for people to get into the show no matter how we pitch it. And what the title of the show is, you're going to wait 30 minutes to 40 minutes to get into that topic. But it really does keep some of the people intrigued about our wacky adventures. And honestly, I'd rather just not do the show than trim all of that out. We tried to some degree at one point, and it just, for us, I think it just got a little too by the book and too rigid, and ultimately it didn't grow our numbers anyway, so fuck it. We may as well talk about whatever the fuck we want to talk about. We do get to some topics, and we understand that 30%, according to the numbers, of you tune out within 5 minutes of listening to this show. How about that? There's a stat for you. 30%. But that means 70% of you are at least hanging into the halfway mark. If you get that far, at least you're honestly judging the whole show, because you have enough at that point. You'll have us shooting the shit, getting into a little bit of news, and then whatever the soup du jour is. This is a weird one because it's all listener feedback, but it says that right in the title. Like if you're looking to check us out for the first time, and I saw that, I wouldn't start with the listener feedback episode, and I'd start with a topic that intrigued me. So it's not a grand choice to do it this way, but again, we don't really make any money off it. It takes time to do it, so we may as well do it the way we want to fucking do it, and I'm glad that you appreciate that. Moving on, where am I? This is from Kristen in Tacoma. Hey, you should go have coffee with Jon-Mark sometime. He's in the Tacoma area, unless you're nuts. Go calling him up. But she says, "Hi all. I have a question that I have always wanted to ask. Now, I've been listening for a long time, so I don't think that you have talked about this before. Forgive me if I'm wrong. What is one thing about your sex life that you may be embarrassed to admit?" I'm gonna start with Christopher on this one. Let's go around the horn. I want you to be thinking about this for just a bit. Christopher, do you have anything that's in your sex life that you're embarrassed?
Kind of chaining around here, but I haven't been having a lot of sex because I haven't been dating. So my sex life usually consists of porn. Mm-hmm. Surprise, surprise.
That's fair.
But I had a bit of a revelation the other day, and got me really thinking about my porn habits. And I always joke that I watch a lot of porn, but guys, I fucking watch a lot of porn.
No, we believe you.
We are.
I'm not. It's not one of those things that I'd never do it like during the day, not at work, none of that jazz. It's like when I have my time.
I don't start drinking until 5 p.m.
Start drinking. But I realized I was listening to a podcast the other day, and they, as a joke, were reading all the AVN Award nominations. Mm-hmm. And I was like,
that's a good bit.
And they were laughing at every, it's meant to be humorous because most of them are like,
You're like, right. You're like making a list.
No, I was listening and I was like, I recognize that name. Oh. I'm like, I shouldn't recognize
like they're the actresses' names?
No. It was like the titles that were up of porn that were up for the awards. Yeah. And I was like,
so you
and I started thinking about it.
Full on, I don't know any of the company names these days. I get Vivid's still around though, right? Bang Bros. Bang Bros. I've been drinking for a couple hours.
Mario Brothers.
It's been a weird day.
Mario Brothers.
Bang Brothers. So stuff like that. You're into those.
Yeah, those are studios that make the porn. But I started thinking about it, and I was like, fuck, I've always enjoyed porn. Like, even when I was in relationships and was having sex on the rig, I still would watch a lot of porn. And I'm like, fuck. Like, I remember one of my friends, not a girlfriend, but a friend that was a girl, on my fucking home PC in like my 20s, and she found my porn folder, and she lost her shit because not only do I watch and consume a lot of porn, I really enjoy like organizing it into
save
folders
it and catalog it. That's
it like
very
give
organized.
3 star.
that doesn't shock me.
ABC,
Can you be honest? Could you give us, how would you categorize it? Like lesbian? Peon? Like, give us a couple examples of what might be 2 or 3 folders in your porn.
Oh no, it was just
library.
like ratings. Like I had an A folder.
I love that you bother to save like C's. Like, wouldn't you just save the A?
I told you I can't throw anything out wrong.
Like there's some beautiful I don't even know how to say it. There's, like self-acknowledgement. Like, you know what? Tonight I deserve a D. I deserve a D rating porn.
Those exact words.
I haven't been a good human. I didn't get a ton of work done. Yeah, didn't meet my calorie quota. So yeah, tonight I deserve C- or D+ porn. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so you catalog.
After I thought
the whole double penetration.
little DP, what? No. My next revelation was I really do feel like if I lived in California, I would probably pursue some kind of career in the porn industry. Not as an actor, I'll be, but like as a I'd probably do the web stuff. Or
I can hook you up with that. I have a lot of friends in the porn industry, but none of them seem to really like it. The one exception is there's a friend of mine. She produces the softcore porn films that they do on Skinemax. She's been producing them for fucking years. She's worked with Jim Wynorski, Our Lord, which is one of my favorite porn director names. It's the letter R, Lord. But that might actually be a pseudonym for Jim Wynorski now that I think about it. But she says those are fun because they're just people like dry humping while wearing giant Band-Aids and cock socks. And they fuck around. She says there's something different about the vibe of actual porn sets. And it seems like a lot of people that are involved with it, it's not what they think it's going to be. And a lot of the people that are directing or producing or otherwise just standing around watching aren't necessarily artistes. So, but all the same, I can hook you up with a stint in the porn industry. Absolutely. I got your in if you
all right.
You want. Yeah, that's
am I out, I hope.
Neither of those are too embarrassing. I love the idea that you, but why? Are you afraid that you're going to lose? You don't still say, this must have been like 10 years ago when you downloaded things. Like, we don't download things.
Yeah. I'm not nearly. Now I've got like
you just bookmark
and a keep folder.
Are you a pro? What's it called? Pro, right? The Pornhub Pro or
no,
Pornhub.
Fuck, I don't pay for that shit. Come on.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, you're next level. If you are watching, do you watch whole movies?
Do I watch what?
Whole movies, or do you just watch clips?
No, they're usually just clips.
Yeah. I don't know anybody that watches whole movies, but there must be people.
Like, I'm a dad, dude. I got like fucking an hour tops to have some me time. You know what I mean?
Zip. And that's why my porn is like, tends to be like hand job, cum shots, or it's usually a compilation of like I just get to it. Wherever I come into it, I can come out of it. You know? Lyle, what about you? You got...
I got nothing, man. I had my sex life's fucking DOA.
Well, I mean, like in general, though.
Not in general. I haven't dated in years, man.
Well, what when you did date? Was there anything?
I got no. It's pretty straight laced. I mean, I don't.
Yeah. All right, Jon-Mark, what about you?
Well, in general, I don't really like to talk about myself in that regard too much. Not even.
Yeah, this is
honestly,
going to be news for us.
Honestly, I don't know. Like, not even with like maybe it's just like the time of my life or something, but not even like really back in the day with my buddies. I would talk about that shit. Probably because there was like there was an incident that happened when I was younger, like 18 or 19, that I had told somebody about, like a piece of my sex life or whatever, right? Because it's like you're young and you're like you experience something, you're like, wow, that was fucking awesome, so you want to tell somebody about it, right? So I told my buddy about this experience that I had, and it turns out that he told my girlfriend that I had told him what happened.
Oh, yeah.
And she was like, I don't, and she was like pretty pissed about it. And then I kind of saw her point of view, and I was like, I didn't realize that, you know what I mean? Like I didn't
Jon-Mark,
realize.
Kind of betrayal of confidence. Mm-hmm.
Jon-Mark,
exactly.
You're the hands down the best person on this podcast. You're such a good person.
The only good
but
person.
just after that I realized, oh, maybe I shouldn't have said anything about that.
Yeah.
I just kind of like, kept my mouth shut.
Yeah, I don't tend to talk about it very much, but I mean, if it comes up, I have no problem talking about it, and I've talked about some on the show. The exception to that would have been like a few years ago when I was experimenting and just like finding myself in these crazy situations. I would just sometime like 2 a.m. text you guys like, "Hey, you ever have one of these?" But I'm not embarrassed by anything concerning my sex life. There are a couple things that I wouldn't offer as information, so I guess I'll go with that. And one, and again, this is really no big deal at all, especially these days, and maybe I've even mentioned it before, but I have found that I do have a bit of a foot fetish. And I'm a fan of utilizing the foot in a variety of ways. Not mine, of course. I wish I was that flexible. But again, that's like, who cares? Like, a lot of people have foot fetish, and, me and Quentin Tarantino, for example. I'm not embarrassed by that at all, but some people find it weird, I suppose. The other is, I don't know, I've got a little butt vibrator I use from time to time. Again, not ashamed, but not something I would bring up like over conversation. Like some nights I shove a thing up my butt. Yeah, not embarrassed, but it's not likely to come up over Thanksgiving turk.
Not likely to come up, not likely to come out either.
The butt thing, it's a vibrator and it's got a battery pack. So I find a sense of security with that little wire that takes me back to life.
Hot wired into the dryer outlet or anything? Give yourself a little extra punch?
No, a little 220? Are you crazy? A little extra punch? Like, well, he died as he lived. Electrifying. The orgasm of my life. Great trick, but you can only do it once. Yeah, we've talked about this before, like the whole erotic asphyxia. What is it? Autoerotic asphyxiation. That's really hard to say. We should work on that. But if you are one of these people that accidentally die while you're coming, I do wonder if that orgasm is like what takes you into the afterlife. And that could be a beautiful experience. Interesting, grody, I guess, thought. But
what if it's like a rim job? Or wait, that didn't mean rim. Like when you rim jam. Like when you're
rim jam.
You get a rim jam. What if it's like that, and you just bounce to the point, and then you just die?
What is a rim jam?
Yeah.
Well, when you're playing basketball and you go to do a slam dunk, and you get the ball hits the rim, and it fucking knocks down your ass.
We're talking about fucking, Lyle.
I know.
Dude goes into sports. R.I.P. Kobe.
Right now.
You're fitting Kobe Bryant tribute.
I know.
Yeah. Bing.
Still your thunder on that. I was just saying.
No, the thunder was already
you're going to come, and you almost did, and then you just died. So you're in mid-release.
Oh, I gotcha. Yeah, well, that'd be eternal. What do they call that? There's porn for that. Ruined. Well, I guess it's just called ruined orgasm. Not my thing. Not into ruined orgasms. But thank you for that question, Kristen. And I think some of you learned a few things that you maybe will try hard the rest of the episode to unlearn. Now, Tony in Wenatchee, local boy, says, "You guys are funny as shit, but I love this. This is one of my favorite emails. You guys are funny as shit, but my wife is convinced that Jon-Mark is a spy." Now, when I first heard that, I was like, where the fuck is this going? But hear this guy out. Now, when I asked her why, she said, he always knows too much. He always stays back in the shadows to the point where you almost forget about him until suddenly, oh, hey, brilliant quip, or, hey, surprising anti-government rant, and then back into the shadows.
Incredible. Wow. I feel so fucking gullible right now.
And by shadows, I mean quote-unquote video game, which I'm not buying, and my wife isn't either. She is certain that video game is code for relaying and or receiving information to and fro the government. He is traveled and or educated. He's even spent time abroad, much in the third world. Seriously, who does that? Spies. Think about it, guys. So let's do a little math here. Always wins trivia.
I can neither confirm nor deny.
No, well, that sounds like something a spy might say. Knows things, thinks things. Suspicious already. Lived abroad. By the way, Jon-Mark, active passport or no?
Active passport, yeah.
How many of us can say that?
He's learning Norway? Norwegian?
He's learning Norwegian.
Check that off the list.
This is becoming more and more obvious that I'm a spy.
Oh my God. I forgot about the Norwegian thing already.
The evidence is adding up.
What are you spying on? That's my question. Like, what are you spying on? The effect of booze and poop-related humiliation on the fragile human brain? What? I don't understand what you're spying on. But everything else falls into line quite nicely, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Think about that, folks. Think about that when you're listening to them older episodes. There's always some clicking noises. Sometimes he forgets that he's unmuted, and we hear strange conversations happening in the background. Never know what's going on in that side of the podcast.
That was fucking great.
Very, very interesting. And thanks for all that amazing feedback. We will do this whenever we get a pile of great emails. You can do that at radarstationart@gmail.com. You can Facebook us messages. However you want to send us feedback, we will pile it up and do a feedback story. Speaking of Facebook, we ain't done yet. Some of you took to, Christopher posted earlier today, hey, we're about to record a new show. Why don't, if you guys have any questions for us, send it our way, and we'll do our best to answer them. So why don't you dig into those, Christopher, and we will do our best to answer them. I only saw a couple of them. I wanted them to be surprises.
Ben had a couple of questions for you, Ron. He wants to know when you're going to start the ASMR podcast.
We
he says,
joked
I bet
about
we
it.
can come up with some good name suggestions, too. I think he's already got some brewing.
Oh, did he? What did he come up with?
He didn't. No, he didn't.
Oh,
and he also said, I really enjoy videos of you doing art. You did a few Facebook Live, and I really enjoyed them. Any possibility of more?
Oh, that's funny. I was literally just yesterday talking about getting back into doing those. I will do some on my own personal Facebook page. They're just fun to do, and it's a good way to sell paintings. So I'm going to be getting back into that soon. But I'm also going to be doing some special ones where I don't know what's going to make them special. Maybe I give the painting away to someone who's part of the chat. But I want to do some for Patreon or SpacePod supporters only. And if it's just three of us in there chatting, fine. Because the way I've done it is it's a live stream. So you all can get on there and ask me questions or listen to me talk about my cat, whatever. It usually ends up being surprisingly interesting conversation and back and forth, and people ask good questions. I tell random stories. I don't sleep, so I've read a lot of wacky shit. So I can talk for at least a couple hours, and then at the end of the thing, I'll have a painting to give away to some lucky listener. So yeah, we will be doing that soon, Ben. Good timing on that question. The other one, the ASMR question is interesting because when we used to have Lauren on the show from time to time, we talked about doing an ASMR thing together because she's got a really good voice. My voice is shredded tonight. So although it's probably fine on somebody in an ASMR way, but we've talked about doing like ASMR gags. But Jesus, that was 4 or 5 years ago. Now everyone knows ASMR. Remember when I first brought it on the podcast? I accidentally discovered it researching for this podcast. Now it's become this huge thing. So it's already been done, but that doesn't mean we can't do our own special SpacePod ASMR episode. I think what we should do is a bonus, or I said SpacePod, good Lord, How Bizarre episode, where we try to do maybe not a full 2 hour, hour and a half episode, but, a 20-minute where we bring news stories and comment on it. I think it would be an interesting challenge for us to just like whisper the whole time or keep that crisp close up to the microphone the entire time. That'd be tricky. to do without laughing. And I don't know. It sounds like a fun project, if nothing else.
Michael asks, and I think Jon-Mark in particular is going to have something to say about this. What do y'all think about the person that sold a banana duct taped to a wall as art? Would you consider such a thing as art?
Great question. Jon-Mark, you want to start us off?
It was a good PR stunt, is what it was. There was something about that story that I can't remember it right now, that somebody brought up to me that was I thought was a pretty good theory about that whole thing. But I'm pretty sure it's all just like, all that shit is just like hype. And everybody's in on it, to get something out of it. It's not like some random thing that happened and the story was reported. It was like the people that reported it originally are in on it. They're like, everybody's like got a piece of that story going viral. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's, I don't know. It's a pretty cynical way to look at it, but that's my take.
Well, let's take it at face value. Because it brings up what I really like about the story is that it brought up this whole question of what is art. That's a pretty open-ended question, and there's really no non-bullshit answer, right? Like, some people don't think comic books are art, which I find ridiculous. But I hear, someone who's owned and curated an art gallery and ran art periodicals for the last 7 years, I hear these kinds of conversations all the time. Like, well, no, that's not fine art, that's illustration. Well, what's the difference? Well, illustration is representing a thing or telling a story. Okay, well, was Rembrandt an illustrator? Like, was Vermeer not a fucking fine artist? These kinds of talks. Like whether we're talking about literature or art or wine or fucking stamp collecting, there's always going to be a collective of buttfucks that love to feel smarter than you. And, they love the exclusivity of academic principles and rules and proper traditions and proper terminology and hoity-toity bullshit. That's exactly why I started Radar Station, to be a safe harbor away from these crusty fucks that don't get laid enough. And because all they want to do is discourage and judge and tear down. And I like to encourage people to create and let them know that there's no secret club. Like, this isn't religion. It's not academia. It's supposed to be freedom to make and enjoy and be inspired by whatever speaks to you. But the stuffy fucks don't like that idea. They didn't like Radar because it made their dry, dull academic version of a gallery or a technique or art style look rigid and uninviting and unimpressive. And it's the DIY ethic that made Radar and lowbrow art in general more accessible. And, it encouraged people to make, or at least try their hand at making some sort of art. And that threatens a certain mindset, like, if everyone is welcome to at least try to be involved, they don't know how to cope with that. And to them, we all just sort of look like a bunch of hoodlums. But the whole banana thing, what I do like about the story is it got people talking about art in general. I mean, we're doing it right now. Obviously, the knee-jerk reaction to something like this is going to be just to roll your eyes and say it's all bullshit. But who's to say that the art of this thing wasn't to get people talking? Like Jon-Mark said, if this thing was contrived, isn't that a production? Like, isn't a production a piece of art? That was my ultimate plan when we did the nude show. At the original one at Radar Station, you could buy a nude figure sketch, which is a pretty typical thing to get in a gallery. But the main point for me was, let's talk about why we are also hung up on or obsessed with nudity on whatever end of the spectrum you may land on. Yes, the $150,000 for a banana duct taped to a wall. Of course, that's bullshit, but it's kind of all bullshit on some level.
Okay, I rescind my my original evaluation of the subject, and then I say, like you were just saying, if it was like a production and it was like coordinated to like get this thing like in the news or whatever, yes, you're right. Technically, that is in itself a work of art to make that happen in that way.
Yeah.
And it kind of makes me think of like people that I actually do admire, like culture jammers that would go around like changing posters in bus stations, you know,
They're just
and like
fucking about.
altering billboards and things like that. That's art to me.
Well,
so
listen,
if that can be art, then this can be art too, you know?
Some kid in Montana right now is painting some mind-blowingly intricate and technically brilliant portrait of a buffalo. And he'll put like a $350 price tag on it and watch it sit in the local art gallery or gift shop for 3 years, maybe forever. Then you had a couple years ago where beloved Beck, glued a few eagle feathers to a stick figure drawing, got a big opening in an art gallery, in a renowned art gallery in New York City, and sold it for $70,000. That just happened not that long ago. He makes things like this. Why was that piece that literally any child, no one can argue against, that any child could have done this with a couple feathers and a Sharpie? What made that piece so valuable? The fact that Beck made it, a celebrity. The fact that there was hype and excitement around it, and it was a known quantity, and you could brag about it. Experts that have studied and appraised works of Jackson Pollock for decades have been fooled by paintings that were made by a 5-year-old. Like Shreddit said, this is a missing or an previously unknown masterpiece by Jackson Pollock. And he'll come forward. No, actually, my 5-year-old painted that. So it's all kind of bullshit. But think about this. This is another part of that story that I like. That gallery, if this was a real sale, that gallery got a $70,000 commission off that fucking nanner. That's no joke. And that dude that bought it, if it was a legitimate purchase, he got some time in the sun, a little bit of fame, and a snack, because he immediately ate it, which kind of goes back to this whole thing, like, what is art? And again, the fact that conversation is now making its rounds in places other than academia, I'll always think that's a good thing. I did see a cartoon response to that story that it was a struggling artist with a portfolio of drawings of portraits or comic characters or something like that. And they were kind of falling out of the portfolio as he was walking by the banana with the 150 or whatever thousand price tag, and it said sold on it. And the thought balloon was like, why do I even try? And I'm like, fuck you. Fuck you, you whiny bitch. And first of all, answer your own question. Why do you try? Like, are you in it solely for a paycheck? This is a conversation I have so often where people get so frustrated by looking at the success of somebody else. It's like, does selling your art for a lesser amount than someone else, does that make you feel inferior? Is that all it takes to make you feel down about what you're doing? Like, do you even get anything out of the process? Or what about the people that have responded positively to your work? A lot of artists will say that the challenges and the struggles, either of trying to make it in that world, get recognized, or even just working through the technique of a piece, that's the most useful and interesting part of the entire thing. So, yeah, take your nobody gives me $150,000 for my little robot doodles and shove it up your ass, because there's a lot of jealousy in the art world. There's a lot of jealousy in the money world. And when you combine the two, I think it's easier to sort out who is an artist and who isn't an artist more than it is to sort out what is art and what isn't art, because that conversation could go on forever. So, I know. Yeah, I could talk about that stuff all day long. You hit my wheelhouse, Russ. Other than that, I have no opinion on the matter.
Here's one that I thought was interesting. TJ asks, what is the weirdest thing you've seen in someone else's home? And I had one right off the bat that I thought of. In Wenatchee, when I was coming out to first see if I was going to, it was like my interview, I stayed at a guy's house that worked there, and he was renting that house, and I walked into the bathroom, and I shit you not, from wall to wall, that bathroom had shag carpet. In the bathroom.
Yeah, bathroom
around
carpet.
The toilet.
Troubling.
Yeah. Shag.
Troubling.
Yeah, that happens.
I'd never seen that, and I was so grossed out.
Yeah, there's
shag
a lot of your houses
around the toilet.
that are like
Yeah, because how often is that being shampooed? Let's be honest.
Yeah.
It's usually older people that haven't renovated, and they're like in their 70s or 80s, that I've come across because we do change outs. And it seemed like that was the demographic. It was older people.
I fucking hate carpet.
Still put up with it, you know what I mean?
I love that carpet's going away.
Well, carpet in the bathroom's kind of gross. I mean,
Carpet in the bathroom is one of my very first apartment that I had, it was thin, very, very thin carpet, but it was still carpet in the kitchen. And it was like, whose idea was this? Like, very thin, but when you spilled tomato sauce, you had to, like, it was a whole to-do. If you spilled tomato sauce in your kitchen, that should be like a paper towel and a swipey dibe. Moving on. You shouldn't have to get a product or a couple towels. Well, weird. But that's the weirdest thing you've ever seen in someone else's house?
It's the only thing I could think of. I'm sure there's something.
Maybe I answered this the wrong way. Lau, what about you?
It's a toss. There was a house we did, I want to say, about 2 or 3 years ago, and the guy was an avid hunter, and he did a lot of stints and trips to Africa. And he had straight up, like, probably, I want to say 20 species, and usually in pairs. So he had lions. He had fucking, he had, I can't even fathom.
Noah's Ark.
There was goats, like weird fucking goats that he like hunted in Africa.
Yeah, trophy hunter.
Yeah, it was a trip, but like, so like he talked to his wife, I guess, apparently. Like I want to say a decade ago, and decided that they wanted to do the remodel to the house, and the remodel was his trophy room, and it's literally they knocked the end of a 2-story house, and made it's just giant, man. You walked in these double doors, and it was just all glass, and just epicness. You felt like you were there in Africa. It was a trip. I took some pictures of it, but like I'm not sure how well it actually came out.
Yeah. Huh.
I would say that's kind of like the weirdest.
That's pretty surprising. Jon-Mark?
I was trying to think what that would be.
It's going to be something from Bangladesh days.
No, honestly, the weirdest thing I ever saw in someone's house was a fucking estate sale I went to in West Seattle. I think it was like last year. It was a hoarding situation. And it was a fairly large property at the end of this cul-de-sac, had a swimming pool and like, I don't know, at least like a half an acre, quarter acre land or something. And there was like, an outbuilding and stuff like that. And they had, on the entrance to the cul-de-sac, and it was weird. It's one of those things where someone must have been living there for decades and decades, and they were just like behind like trees and stuff, and the neighbors couldn't really see what was going on,
Yeah.
And they had these signs on the end of the driveway, like, enter at your own risk, And so we went in there, and they literally had like through this, imagine walking into someone's estate, but like the lawns and the grounds on each side of the driveway just had piles of trash like bulldozed up that were literally like little hills of trash, like all the way level. Not even necessarily trash, just junk stuff,
Yeah.
all the way down to like where the house and the garage and the outbuildings and stuff were, and just everywhere, like anything you could think of, there was something there. And we didn't even really go in the house because it was just like, man, this is too fucking crazy. Just like walking through the garage was like anything you can think of. There was a massive collection of it, and some of it was almost organized. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was crazy. And like you could tell that they had drained the pool and bleached it because it was like so bad that they had to just like pour bleach in there to get rid of probably the smell. Because we looked up later on Google Maps to see if you could see that property from space or the sky, and yes, you could, and you could see that there was just like the pool was like this just disgusting green color, so you can imagine what it was like.
Right.
So you got on your computer and you went and Googled through space.
Well, when I got home, I had to Google it, like to see if you could see that from the sky. And sure enough, you could see it. And like, it was crazy.
That seems something like a spy would do.
God damn it, sure does, doesn't it?
He's like, yeah, hang up.
No, that was probably one of the weirdest things I've ever seen in someone else's property. Just like walking through that.
I have a feeling that Ronster is sitting on something good. Ronster?
If he's not, I got a second one. The one buddy we used to play D&D with, his dad was Oriental, and he had like full on suits of armor, and down in like you would go downstairs, and the downstairs you went downstairs, opened up, and I think there was like 4 rooms ascending this giant area, which you would think would be like a dining area. And they had this giant like round table, and we used to play D&D there, and like he literally had like suits of armor and shit. It was around on the back walls. It was nuts. It wasn't my buddies, but it was his parents.
You guys all answered it, I think, probably the way the question was meant to be answered, but I wasn't thinking in terms of like objects or just things that I saw, like literally as part of the house or the lifestyle. But the weirdest thing I've ever seen, one of the weirdest things I've seen anywhere, was that Eyes Wide Shut party that was up on Fancher Heights, which I talked about on the old show. You remember that story?
I do.
That's one of 3 stories that I regularly tell that I get the feeling that most people I tell it to don't really believe. And it's fair. I suppose it's fair. Well, it's actually one of 2 parties that I ended up there, 2 different houses, but both up there, that were like orgy parties. The first one was more of like a key party. You remember well, you wouldn't remember it, but in the 70s, it was like all the rage for swingers to have these parties. I don't remember what the point of the key was.
Put the fishbowl out?
Yeah, and
everybody puts their keys in there, and then you just grab one, whoever's husband or wife the keys were, you go off with.
Oh, I didn't. Okay. So this was different, where it was just like a casual party, and you chose who you mingled, and you're like, all right, I'm going to go see what's going on over here. And when you're feeling, like you got a compatibility buddy, then you would head on upstairs and find a room. The second party that I went to was straight out of Eyes Wide Shut. Like when you walked through the door, there were people fucking in the entryway, the foyer. Someone was getting foyered out as soon as I walked into that place. And it continued through the entire place. It was unbelievable. Now, everyone wasn't fucking. I wasn't fucking. I was married to my first wife at the time. Christopher, that's your...
God damn, I'm losing my touch.
You were in the story. Like, go on. But there were people just watching. Like it was a spectator sport. That's why I was invited, to just be a spectator. Yeah, that happened. And I was there. That's one of the most amazing memories burned into my brain of all time. I promise you, any town, I don't care how small, how conservative, whatever is happening around you, this shit is going on right in front of you. I don't know how you find out. Do you remember how I found out about this bar? There's a dude that was, I shouldn't even say the position. There's a guy that worked at one of the local car dealerships. And he was like such a smarmy, like, just like, I could get you, dude, you want a fucking Ford Explorer? Like bragging. You want a Ford Explorer this weekend? I can get you a fucking Ford Explorer. It's like, no. He was that kind of guy, He's just like showy, braggadocious. And, that's probably all I should say. Anyway, he kept telling me about these parties that he was involved with. And I was like, yeah. Like everything else out of his mouth just seemed like bullshit. And then he invited me, and I was having a weird night. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to I'm going to go check this party out, see what we got. And that's how it happened. Used car lot. Yeah, that's life. That's life for you folks. Anyway, sorry. Where are we now?
That was the gist of our good questions.
Okay. Well, thank you, everyone, for asking. And we encourage you to keep up the feedback. Keep up the back and forth. It gives us something to gab about. And look at that. Took us all the way up to weird trivia, which it's been entirely too long since we heard the old theme song. Back to front, weird trivia with Christopher F. Hahn.
Y'all ready for this?
Every
time.
Snappy.
Okay.
Snappy.
I can't remember who won the actual last round of weird trivia, so I'm going to make you go in the traditional order here.
I'm guessing it was a spy.
You're probably right. Ron, you're going to go first. Jon-Mark, you'll be in the mid there. And Lyle, you'll go at the end. We have 4 questions. Let's do this. Okay, question 1. It was announced back in December that you're going to be able to buy a new body wash that is scented after this product that many people enjoy daily, but maybe has no business being a fucking body wash scent. Is it A, Blow Pops Suckers?
Before we move on, Jon-Mark, are you muted on your video game?
Yes.
Okay.
Is it
blow charms?
Is it B, Mountain Dew body wash?
Extreme clean.
Extreme, bro.
We don't do the extreme thing anymore. That kind of ages us.
Is it C, Lysol body wash?
When you want the nursing home deep down clean.
Or is it D, Cook's Champagne body wash?
Wow, quite the list.
One of these is real.
I feel like it's down between Charms and Mountain Dew. The other two are crazier, but no one wants to smell like booze. In fact, we go out of our way. Some folk go out of the way to hide the smell of booze. I'm going to go with Charms Blow Pops. I think the Mountain Dew thing is believable, but I don't know. I'm leaning toward the bubblegummy Charms Blow Poppy smell.
Okay. Jon-Mark?
I think I'm going to go with Mountain Dew.
Mountain Dew. Okay, Lyle?
About
Kinda
we
want that
Mountain
Cooks.
Don't and say we Mountain Dew. Sorry, Lyle.
Would you?
Kind of thinking that Cooks.
Cook champagne. Wow.
Can you
All over the
imagine
place.
the effervescent feeling of just having that
So fresh.
bubbly all over your body?
Yeah, but what is Cook's? Like $6, is that $8 a bottle?
Yeah, but
That'd just
Wait,
be
wait,
cheaper than
$6
body wash.
about the same price, whatever, right?
And you can drink it. You can't drink the body wash.
Okay.
Pop that cork and pop that cork. I mean, whatever you do in the shower.
Yeah. I'm getting my business face on here. Okay. Question 2. Over the holiday season, Walmart had to remove an ugly sweater it was selling online and publicly apologize for selling it because the sweater featured this. Was it A, 2 reindeers engaged in reindeer-style sex?
Reindeer style. All right. Well, I guess they're not. That's missionary for them.
Sure. Yeah. Is it B, an image of Santa Claus kissing mommy with Santa Claus's hand firmly grabbing her booty?
Santa Paws.
Is it C, a picture of Santa Claus taking a shit down a chimney with the words potty or nice on it?
Ooh, that's a much better legend. Like, be good, you get presents. Be bad, we're going to shit into your home.
Or was it D, a picture of Santa getting ready to snort 3 lines of Coke off a table with the words "Let it snow" above it?
That's brilliant, too, because he's got a long night ahead of him. He's going to need a little
Got to do it
extra
somehow.
pep.
Okay. Once again, just for recap,
Yeah.
was it 2 reindeers fucking, an image of Santa getting a little feely on mommy's booty, a picture of Santa taking a shit down a chimney, or Santa doing Coke? One of these, Walmart.com, excuse me. Walmart.com is a whole nother website. One of these was actually being sold, and they had to publicly apologize for it.
That
And I
surprises
do have
me
the sweater
with
to show
Walmart.
you guys, of course.
Well, I do love the idea of the updated version of the U-log. Taking a shite down the old chim. Something's really speaking to me about Let It Snow, but God, Walmart. I'm trying to think what the tamest one here is, because Walmart's pretty tame in terms of what gets by them. I'm going to go with the reindeers humping.
Okay. Jon-Mark. Jon-Mark?
Remember I told you to mute.
Yeah, I just had to get up to my phone. I updated my phone and it runs like shit now, so it takes a second. I'm gonna go with the Let It Snow. Let it snow. Let it snow.
That's a good. If that doesn't exist, that's a great Christmas card that I'm about to make.
Lyle.
I'm going to go with the reindeer, but I don't think it's the red nose. People were getting offended by it.
All right, question 3. I found out something interesting about chainsaws this week. Originally, chainsaws were actually developed to do this. Was it A, to help trim hemp and marijuana plants at harvest?
I'll do it. A little overkill.
Is it B, to assist dentists with troublesome tooth removals?
Do not want.
Is it C, to help butcher cows?
Do not want.
Or is it D, to aid doctors during difficult childbirths?
Oh, now that is a C section. C for chainsaw.
Oh, no.
Boy, do not want. God. The hemp thing is the most, I guess, grassroots. No pun intended, but God, I'm really, really intrigued at the thought of it being to butcher cows. Think about, that's a shit. Have you ever had like when you go and buy like a big fat roast, and unless you have a super good and super sharp knife, you're in for some work getting that into a stew. Can you imagine taking on a whole cow? I'm going to go with that. Okay. Originally designed to speed up the same way that, I mean, what is a fucking turkey carver but a little handheld chainsaw? Well, you know, chain, but it's a similar concept.
Sawzall.
What is a turkey?
Yeah, it is a sawzall. That's exactly what
it is. A sawzall. What is a turkey?
Jon-Mark?
I'm going to go with the C for chainsaw section.
That'd be amazing if that's where the C came from.
Sorry,
I know it's not. I know what it
with
stands
difficult
for.
childbirth. C for chainsaw childbirth.
What the fuck are you saying? Jon-Mark has stroke.
C for C-section.
Okay.
All these so many ways.
Lyle.
Imagining that. I'm going with the cow.
Going with cow. When in doubt.
Yeah.
Okay. Last question here. Question 4. And I wish this was a Florida Daily Dubs because it certainly sounds like it could have come from Florida. Question 4. A brother and sister in Pennsylvania were arrested after they got into a physical altercation that involved a high-speed police chase over the holidays. The cause of this argument was this. Was it A, who would get the last piece of gum?
Oh,
was it
you're
B,
parched. Yeah.
over who called shotgun for the ride?
Remember those days?
Was it C, over who was a better kisser?
No, there can only be one.
Or was it D, over the quandary that if tomatoes are fruit, then ketchup should be labeled as jam? The age-old argument.
Yes. Uh-huh. That'll keep you up at night. Is it jam? I don't dare go for that. And sometimes...
Well, it has 2 different kinds of corn syrup in it, so...
Yeah. Well, sometimes Christopher laughs at his own hilarious made-up ones, and sometimes he doesn't. Fuck it. I don't feel terribly strong about my previous answer, so I'm going to go with D. Is it jam?
You're gonna have a
Since
fight
it's
about
made
it,
of a
sis.
fruit.
Will it tea?
Yeah. Closer to syrup, though, really. Although it's a hybrid. It's a weird consistency ketchup.
Jon-Mark.
Unique.
What was the thing that happened that were...
A brother and sister got into such a bad argument that they both got arrested because it turned into a high-speed chase in their car.
I'm a fucking idiot.
Having physical altercation while driving.
Sometimes I just need you to read back the question to tell me how stupid my choice was.
Can you just run through them real quick?
Sure. Yeah. So what sparked the argument that ended up getting them arrested? Was it A, who got the last piece of gum? B, who called shotgun for the ride? C, who was the better kisser? Or D, for the quandary that if tomatoes are fruit, that ketchup should be labeled as jam?
That last one's oddly specific.
Marijuana is a hell of a drug, Jon-Mark.
Although legitimately, with my view of humanity these days, and especially a lot of people in the United States, I believe that all of those are valid options. Mm-hmm. However, I like the C for ketchup option. So I'm going with
turn
that
a
one.
phrase.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Lyle.
I'm going to go with the old adage of who called shotgun first. Because that could be troublesome.
I did. That's probably the right answer. Yeah.
Because,
it can only end in a fight.
There's no real good way to end that, for sure.
Either you're a pussy-ass bitch or you win.
Which
Which one do you want to be? I know which one I'm going to be without a hat.
Let's go over the answers here, see how you guys did. Question 1, it was announced back in December that you're going to be able to buy a new body wash that is scented after Mountain Dew.
Straight, bro.
That was my initial leaning.
Yep. Jon-Mark snagged that one, though. Question 2, over the holiday season, Walmart had to remove an ugly sweater it was selling online and publicly apologize for selling it. I actually have it right here. I'm going to send over the Facebook for you guys to take a little gander at. It's coming right now.
Okay. It is indeed Let It Snow. A pile of snowballs and 3 clearly drawn out. Not only are they clearly lines, but he's holding a fucking straw.
Yeah, he's ready. His eyes, look at his pupils.
Yeah, and just a terrifying design. But I could see that getting through. You know, it doesn't jump out at you. If someone had walked by me wearing that sweater during Christmas time, probably never would have even noticed. If I'm being honest.
Yeah.
And think about how many things the censors or whoever, yays or nays, the Walmart products, think of how many things they see. Yeah. Good sweater.
Illuminati.
I bet that story has made that sweater go through the roof.
Popular.
Yeah.
So many sales. All right, Jon-Mark, you got that correct. You've got 2 points 2 points in the bag against these fools. How's that?
Good.
Motherfucker.
Good.
Yeah. Big surprise, spy.
Yeah. Question 3.
That's what a spy would say.
Question 3. Originally, chainsaws were actually developed to aid doctors during difficult childbirths. I have a photo of what that first chainsaw might look like, too.
No.
Yeah. I mean, it's smaller, but you can.
Because being a woman hasn't sucked enough in the past. We're going to go ahead and just... Okay, well, wow, that's a chainsaw. It is about the size of a turkey carver, but it's a chainsaw, hand-cranked. Right?
It looks
like it's hand-cranked.
Yeah, ouch. Woof.
Sting into the wing.
Does it describe how it was actually utilized?
I mean, I didn't delve into it. My imagination took over, and I think after seeing my son come into this world, I have a pretty good idea.
It looks like a medieval torture device that you would use to get answers.
Yeah.
Like, anyone is going to talk after, like... It looks like the business end of it may be 3 to 6 inches long. It's hard to gauge. Half of that business end is going to make you say anything, right?
Oh, yes.
As a torture device.
Yeah.
Hand cranked, I feel like a chainsaw might, like a gas powered chainsaw, might be more merciful than this thing.
Forget your little vibrating butt plug, Ron. Let's get one of these. Let's get some answers out of Ron.
Okay, there's more. I do have more. Yeah. You've almost dug to it. It's up there somewhere. I know it. Yeah.
Guess who got that right, guys?
Yeah. Gee, I don't know. Could it be the spy that's currently learning Norwegian on some of our listeners' dime? Mm-hmm. He's a thrifty spy, that one.
He's 3 for 3. He's got them all so far.
Yeah, well, fucking shocker on any fucking level. God damn it.
Let's see how this last one turns out here.
Sure, big mystery.
A brother and sister in Pennsylvania were arrested after they got into a physical altercation that involved a high-speed police chase over the holidays. The cause of the argument was who called shotgun for the ride, bitch.
Yeah.
Lyle got that right, keeping things fresh.
Well, it's been a while since I got a big old stink egg.
Sick, baby.
Well,
0.
but at least I went out with a glorious pick.
You did.
Of the
Jesus.
Is a jam.
Oh, come on.
Can we take a minute to just appreciate the brilliance of that answer? Well, I couldn't not choose it. It's a great fucking question. If we're talking about processed fruits, a little bit of corn syrup, a little bit of tangy flavoring, how is it not jam? Yeah. Kind of shit's going to keep me up at night. Well, congratulations, John Spy's Mark. He's, God bless. I guess we better keep him happy. We don't really know what he's spying on, who he's spying for, and what the ultimate end game is. But in my experience, just with fiction, it's good to keep the spies on your side. So, yeah, let's keep him happy. Let's keep him winning.
I can neither confirm nor deny.
Sure. I'm going to go with F. You're all under arrest. Yeah. Well, before we get out of here, there's something that it's hard for me to send this photo because it's a game changer for so many things. So you guys know those apps, you see them on Facebook mostly. Take a picture here and send it here. We'll show you what you look like as an old person or as someone of the opposite gender. Well, my ex-girlfriend Sarah, I don't even know how to phrase it. I should have just sent it. Sarah took one of these. It wasn't like a quiz. She used one of these apps to see what she would look like as a man. I'm going to send this over text. Now, just take a look here and see if this face reminds you of anybody.
I hope it's not you.
No. I'm confident it'll jump out.
Oh. Hello.
I'd like to reiterate this is
not a beard.
This is not a Photoshop. This is not a joke. This is legitimately what she got when she did the face swap.
Is this me?
It looks just like Chris without the beard. Even with down to his brown eye.
Yeah,
it's exactly what Christopher looked like when we first met.
I don't know how I feel about this.
You don't. You don't.
Wow.
Bitch, I've been fucking you for a year. I know what you like. More importantly, I know what you don't like.
Oh my God, what has happened? Okay.
Now, she sent me this side by side, which was hilarious because and my response to the side by side was, yeah, I know what Christopher looks like. I don't need the side by side. But I'm going to do it all the same. She found one that worked pretty well, and I think that will have to be the photo of the show. Let's see. Let me back up. I've been sending a lot of pictures. Okay. Tell me this does not look like Chris then and Chris now. Coming over text. It's uncanny.
Oh, God.
There's nobody that wouldn't believe that that's a before and after, like 10 years ago or whatever. She does look a little younger, although the beard, maybe not even younger, just the beard makes a big difference.
Yeah.
But if you photoshopped, God, when I cover up the bottom half, no matter where you cover it, it looks like you, Chris.
Oh, here, I've got one I'm going to send to you right now. This is
one of you more clean shaven.
Yeah. Well, this is yeah. Hold on. Okay, it's gonna come. That's gonna come, Ron. It's gonna be a good comment.
Wait for it. Oh, damn.
It's one of me and Christina, but it's one when I didn't have a beard.
Okay. Coming over text.
You're a handsome man for that beard.
Mm-hmm. Oh, thank you.
Before that beard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fucking crazy. The hairline.
Uh-huh.
Like.
Well, you can tell me you want to fuck me, Ron.
I can tell you what?
That you want to fuck me. I mean, you've been fucking me apparently, right?
This can go a few ways. It can be the end of Sarah and I and the beginning of Chris and I, or it can lead to just next level of intimacy all around, right?
Oh my God, I hope this isn't the end. I hope the next time you're inside of her, you're not just like...
It's like some fucking Married with Children thing where this cheesy dissolve of your face. It's doggy style from here on out, I'm afraid.
What you got to be more concerned about is if you're having sex with her and then you start calling Chris.
Oh God, Sarah, I'm so sorry.
I think Sarah might be. I think we're all on the same page. We're all just a little stunned and a little vulnerable and a little intrigued. I think we're all in an interesting place right now. But for the love of God, I know this is coming late. I know people who are, especially Facebook, who follow us on Facebook, you're going to see this graphic. You'll be, what the fuck is that? Why is there young Chris and older Chris? Or, beardless Chris and bearded Chris? It's going to take you all the way to the end of the episode to get to the Tootsie Roll center of this nugget. And, weigh in with your thoughts. Do you agree? It's pretty... The biggest test here, I think, was Christopher seeing himself in that photo. Because
it took me a second, though. I was like, this is weird.
You know how it is when people send you pictures of, look, I found your doppelganger.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're like, that person looks nothing like me. Yeah. Sometimes it's hard for you to see yourself in other people the way that other people do. Yeah. You got to admit, that's some Christopher-looking shit.
It is.
Wouldn't you guess that I had monkeyed with that and photoshopped a little bit of you in there? At least just a little bit. It
wouldn't surprise me. Yeah.
Like, if I was doing it, I would make it that, subtle. Although it's not that subtle to me. It's fucking Christopher wearing my girlfriend's clothes. So, again, yeah. Well, tune in next week to see who I'm dating next. Could be Chris. Could be somebody new. Could be Sarah and Chris. Could have worked this thing all kinds of out and all kinds of in. Mm-hmm. But there could be some psychological thing happening here, too. Maybe we'll get into that next episode. We're looking long in the tooth. I have a theory, though, about this. And it is psychologically based. Remind me to bring it up next week. Because I read a story not too long before getting that image. And it was in the back of my head. I was like, Well, Ron at boronfilms.com. Or actually, let's do Radar Station Art at gmail.com. That's where you should get a hold if you want to send a show suggestion. If you want to be on the show, if you want to challenge us to a round of weird trivia, y'all think you're ready for this? You wait. Whatever you want to do. Feedback all goes to that email. Until next week, I think we'll be talking about 9/11 next week. Jon-Mark, I think, knows a thing or two about that. What, being a spy and all, he'll have to be up on certain events. Anyway, we'll see y'all next week.
Night, guys.
Good night.
Bye.
Hey, remember that time Ron shit his pants? You see how this show is already kind of
Could you be more specific?